Hello everybody and welcome back to my continuation of my book reading, Stephen King's Cell. Let's continue, shall we? Once we left the city, I didn't see anyone with a gun, Clay said. At first, I wasn't really looking, and then I was... You know why? Don't you? Except maybe for California. Massachusetts has gotten the toughest gun law in the country. Clay remembered seeing billboards proclaiming that at the state line a few years ago. Then they've been replaced by ones saying that if you got picked up for driving under the influence, you had to spend a night in jail. Tom said if the cops find a concealed handgun in your car, meaning like in the glove compartment with your registration and insurance card, they can put you away for I think 7 years. Get stopped with a loaded rifle in your pickup, even in hunting season, and you could get slapped with a $10,000 fine and 2 years of community service. He picked up the remains of his sandwich, inspecting it. Put it back down again. You can own a handgun and keep it in your home if you're not a felon. But a license to carry? Maybe if you got Father O'Malley of the Boys Club to co-sign, but maybe not even then. No guns might have saved some lives coming out of the city. I agree with you completely, Tom said. Those two guys fighting over a keg of beer? Thank God neither of them had the 38. Clay nodded. Tom rocked back in his chair, crossed his arms on his narrow chest. I looked around. His glasses glinted. The circle of light thrown by the Coleman lantern was brilliant but small. Right now, however, I wouldn't mind having a pistol, even after seeing the mess they make, and I consider myself pacifist. How long have you lived here, Tom? Almost 12 years. Long enough to see Malden go a long way down the road to Shitville. It's not there yet, but boy, it's going. Okay, so think about it. Which of your neighbors is to have a gun or guns in their house? Tom answered promptly. Arnie Nickerson. Across the street and 3 houses up. NRA bumper sticker on his Carmi, along with a couple of yellow ribbon decals, an old Bush Cheney sticker. Goes without saying. And 2 NRA stickers on his pickup, which he equips with a camper cap in November and takes hunting up in your part of the world. And we're happy to have a revenue his out of state hunting license provides. Clay said. Let's break into his house tomorrow and take his guns. Tom McCourt looked at him as though he were mad. The man isn't as paranoid, sorry. It's been a long day. the man isn't as paranoid as some of those militia types out in Utah. I mean, he does live in Massachusetts, but he's got one of those burglar alarm signs on his lawn that basically says, "Do you feel lucky, punk?" And I'm sure you must be familiar with the NRA state policy as to just when their guns will be taken away from them. I think it has something to do with prying their cold dead fingers. That's the one. Clay leaned forward and stated what to him had been obvious from the moment they come down the ramp from Route 1. Malden was now just one more fucked up town in the United States of America, and that country was now out of service. Off the hook. So sorry. Please try your call again later. Salem Street was deserted. He had felt that as he approached, hadn't he? No. Bullshit. You felt watched. Really? And even if you had, what was that the sort of intuition that could be relied upon, acted upon, after a day like this one? The idea was ridiculous. Tom, listen. One of us was walk up to this guy Nicholson's house tomorrow after it's full daylight. It's Nickerson. And I don't think that's a very smart idea, especially since Swami McCord sees him kneeling inside his living room window with a full automatic rifle he's been saving for the end of the world. But seems to have rolled around. I'll do it, Clay said. And I won't do it if we hear any gunshot from the Nickerson place tonight or tomorrow morning. I certainly won't do it if I see any bodies on the guy's lawn, with or without gunshot wounds. I watched all those old Twilight Zone episodes too. The ones where civilians turned out to be nothing more than a thin layer of shellac, something like that. I've never seen that word before. Shellac. Anyway, if that, Tom said gloomily, Adi Amit, Pol Pot. Persecution rests. I'll go with my hands raised. Ring the doorbell. If someone answers, I'll say I just want to talk. That's the worst that can happen. Well, what's the worst that can happen? He tells me to get lost? No, the worst that can happen is he shoots your dad on his fucking welcome mat and leaves you with a motherless teenage girl, Tom said sharply. Smart off about old Twilight episodes all you want. Just don't forget those people you saw today fighting outside the T station in Boston. That was... I don't know what it was, but those people were clinically insane. You can't doubt that, Tom. What about Bible-thumping Bertha and the two men fighting over the keg? Were they insane? No, of course they hadn't been. But if there was a gun in that house across the street, he's still wanting it. And if there was more than one, he wanted Tom and Alice each to have one too. I'm thinking about going north over 100 miles, Police said. We might be able to boost a car and drive some of it, but we might have to walk a whole way. Do you want to go with just knives for protection? I'm asking you as a serious man to another, because some of the people we ran into are going to have guns. I mean, you know that. Yes, Tom said. He ran his hands through his neatly trimmed hair, giving it a comic ruffle. And I know that Arnie and Bat are probably not home. They were gadget nuts as well as gun nuts. He was always gabbing on his cell phone when he went by in that big Dodge Ram Detroit phallus of his. See? There you go. Tom sighed. Alright. Depending on how things look in the morning, okay? Okay. Clay picked up his sandwich again. He felt a little more like eating now. Where did they go? Tom asked. The ones you called the phone crazies. Where did they go? I don't know. I tell you what I think, Tom said. I think they crawled into the house in the buildings around sundown and died. Clay looked at him doubtfully. Look at the reasonable, and you'll see I'm right, Tom said. This was always certainly some sort of terrorist act. Would you agree? Would you agree? It seems the most likely explanation, although I'll be damned if I know how any signal, no matter how subversive, could have been programmed to do what this one did. Are you a scientist? No, I'm not. I'm an artist. So when the government tells you they can guide computerized smart bombs to bunker doors in the floor of the desert from aircraft carriers that are maybe 2,000 miles away, all you can do is look at the photos, accept that the technology exists? But Tom Clancy lie to me? Clay asked, unsmiling. And if that technology exists, why not accept this one, at least on a provisional basis? Okay, spell it out. Small words, please. At about 3 o'clock this afternoon, a terrorist organization, maybe even the Tin Pot government, generated some sort of signal or pulse. From now, we have to assume that this signal was carried by every cell phone operating in the entire world. We'll hope that wasn't the case, but for now I think we have to assume the worst. Is it over? I don't know, Tom said. Do you want to pick up a cell phone and find out? Touchy, Clay said. That's how my little boy said touchy, or touche. And please. God, how he's still saying it. But if this group could transmit a signal that would send everyone hearing it insane, Tom said, isn't it possible that the signal could also contain a detective? For those receiving it to kill themselves 5 hours later, or perhaps just simply go to sleep and stop breathing. I would say that's impossible. I would have said a madman coming at me with a knife across the Four Seasons Hotel was impossible, Tom said. Or Boston burning flat while the city's entire population, that part of it lucky enough not to have cell phones, that is left by the Mystic and the Zakim. He leaned forward, looking at Clay intensely. He wants to believe it, Clay thought. Don't waste a lot of time trying to talk him out of it, because he really wants to. In a way, this is no different from bioterrorism the government was so afraid of after 9/11, he said. By using cell phones, which have become the dominant form of communication in our daily lives, we simultaneously turn the populace into your own conscript army. An army that's literally afraid of nothing because it's insane. And you break down the infrastructure. Where's the National Guard tonight? Iraq, Clay ventured. Louisiana? It wasn't much of a joke, and Tom didn't smile. It's nowhere. How do you use a homeland force that now depends almost entirely on the cellular network to even mobilize? As for airplanes, the last one I've seen flying was the little one that crashed on the corner of Charles and Beacon. He paused, then went on, looking straight across the table into Clay's eyes. All they did, whoever they is, they looked at us from wherever it is they live and worship their gods. And what did they see? Clay shook his head, fascinated by Tom's eyes shining behind his spectacles. They were almost the eyes of a visionary. They saw we had built the Tower of Babel all over again, and on nothing but electronic cobwebs. And in the space of seconds, they brushed those cobwebs aside, and our tower fell. All this they did, and we three are like bugs that happened, by dim luck alone, to have avoided the fall of a giant foot. All this they did. And you can think, they could not have encoded a signal telling the affected ones to simply fall asleep and stop breathing. 5 hours later. What's the trick, compared to the first one? Not much, I'd say. Clay said, I see it's time we get some sleep. For a moment Tom remained as he was, hunched across the table, a little looking at Clay, as if unable to understand what Clay had said. Then he laughed. Yeah, he said. Yeah, you've got a point. I get wound up, sorry. Not at all, Clay said. I hope you're right about the crazies being dead. He paused, then said, I mean, unless my boy, Johnny G. He couldn't finish. Partially, or mostly, or maybe mostly, because if Johnny had tried to use his phone this afternoon and had gotten the same call as Pixie Light and Parachute Woman, Clay wasn't sure he wanted his son to be still alive. Excuse me. Tom reached across the table to him, and Clay took the other man's delicate, long-fingered hand in both of his. He saw this happening as if he were outside his body, and when he spoke, he didn't seem to be the one speaking, although he could feel his mouth moving and the tears that had begun to fall from his eyes. "I am so scared for him," his mouth was saying. "I'm scared for both of them, but mostly for my kid." "It'll be alright," Tom said, and Clay knew he meant well, but the words struck terror into his heart, just the same, because it was just one of those things you said when there was really nothing else, like, "You'll get over it," or "He's in a better place." And with this, I'm going to stop it here for this book reading. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.